DynamX. Hey, I hope you're having a fantastic Saturday today. Wanted to come at you with a quick video this morning and actually talk a little bit about Operation Reborn again. Now, I want to share with you a story from when I was a kid growing up. So I grew up in Big Lake, Alaska. It's about an hour, maybe an hour and a half that way. And I remember as a kid, like, we lived in a pretty small community. So it was like maybe 5,000 people. Maybe even less than that. We had, a gas station, a high school, a middle school. We had a store, but it was a very little community. And I can recall as a kid not growing up and having a ton of mentors. Like, I had teachers, for sure, I had coaches, but that was more like, people that you spend time with while you're at school or while you're at practice, and then you go back to do your own thing on your own time, and whatever you do at that time is basically the effect of the life you have around you. Now, I didn't think that way as a kid. I just thought life was what it was, and whatever condition I was in or that my life was in was by default, and I didn't have any control over that because I didn't have a mentorship figure teaching me, hey, your thoughts control your life. And I can recall, in Big Lake, right? So 5,000 people. I can recall getting into trouble as a kid with my best friend, me and my buddy Garrett. You guys know Garrett. You guys know that we used to do some crazy stuff back in high school. But I can remember getting in trouble with my buddy Garrett. No, we lived in a small community, so it wasn't anything big. It was driving our cars on the bike path, going off-roading, mooning people, whatever else, right? And, that was in a smaller community, but I can look at most of the times when I got in trouble as a kid, it was because I was bored. I was in boredom. Because I was in boredom, I would look for stuff to do, and usually the stuff I would find wasn't great. Like I said, mooning people, off-roading, driving my car on the bike path, skipping school, pulling pranks on people. I remember one time I was so bored. This was an entire year of high school. I was so bored the entire year that me and my buddy, we got a Tupperware container, and every single day we would fill it with a little bit of leftovers from our lunch. And we would leave it in my locker. We just let it sit there, right? So we'd fill it up, put a little bit, like a scoop or two every day. So we had things like steak and macaroni and cheese and eggs and potatoes and whatever else throughout the year that we'd accumulated in this Tupperware. And so we let this Tupperware sit there. And on the last day of school, and we had our senior year, right? This is actually senior year. So our last day of school, that was gonna be our senior prank. So we took this Tupperware, and we were told we weren't allowed to do real senior pranks because if we did, they were going to take away our diplomas. That's how bad it was. We were terrible kids. So as an alternative to a real senior prank, we took this Tupperware. At this point, it was liquefied. It was fuzzy. There was cheese growing in there. There was all sorts of stuff, right? We took it and spread it around on the toilets in the men's bathroom in the hallway. And I remember, the entire hallway smelled like death. Within minutes, I kid you not, within minutes they had crime tape around the bathroom, the red do not enter tape. So me and my buddy, we step under the tape to go look, and there's, all the stuff we spread on the floor, and then there's also a pile of vomit on the floor in front of the toilet we spread it on, and it just reeked, right? It was bad. And that's just a story, but that's an example of, getting bored and doing something that, although that one's kind of funny and innocent, wasn't great. It wasn't the best use of time or talent. And the reason I bring this up is here in Anchorage, where I live, kids are no different. We have a community of more like 300,000 people. So it's not 5,000 people. We're not driving on bike paths, but we have a bigger community and a bigger city. And kids still have the same problem. A lot of the youth get bored. And when you get bored, you look for stuff to do. And when you look for stuff to do, you usually get in trouble. Okay? Now here it translates to things like drugs, alcohol, sexual abuse, gangs, all sorts of stuff. And I wouldn't even call it gangs. With a gang, I was told you've got to have territories and stuff. We don't really even have that. It's just, youth that are bored and running rampant in the city. So that's stuff that's going on right now in Anchorage because the youth don't have direction. They don't have mentorship. The schools aren't providing it, and it's nobody's fault. The schools are busy doing school stuff. Their job is not to really mentor kids. It's to teach curriculum given to them by their governing body. But nobody's taking that responsibility. Parents are busy. They're at work, right? So when I would get home from school as a kid, I'd get home at, 2:45, I think. And my mom was at work till maybe 5 or 6 p.m. So I had 3 hours in the afternoon to go do stupid stuff with no adult supervision, and I could basically go do whatever I wanted whenever I wanted. Okay, now I want you to multiply that where you've got 300,000 people in the city, you've got access to drugs, you've got access to alcohol, you've got access to potential gang-related activity. You've got access to a lot more stuff that it's still just trouble, but it's on a higher degree. Okay, now a lot of the kids that end up getting in trouble, they're not trying to, they're just bored, and then they do something that's a little too far, and they end up, in juvenile detention, or they end up, getting in trouble and expelled from school, or whatever the thing is that happens, but it careens their life onto a certain kind of track. Okay, and now that they're on that track, that's probably the way they're gonna live for most of the rest of their life unless somebody helps them turn it around. Now, that is the point of Operation Reborn. So Operation Reborn is not for homeless people, it's not for at-risk people, it's literally for the youth. Like, we're focusing on how do we help the youth become successful, give them mentorship, give them opportunity that they're not really getting anywhere else. That's what the entire deal is about. And so every second Sunday we have an event at Hair Science Barbershop and Barber School. And at that event, we do free haircuts, we provide food, but the main thing we provide is mentorship. We actually give information on how to succeed in life. We give information on business. We give information on finances. We give information on how to get a good job. Okay, because I'm an example of somebody that when I did get my life on track, and I say on track like it was really that off track, like I said, I wasn't doing anything crazy. I was just bored with a lot of leftover time. But when I finally did focus that time and that energy, at the age of 18, I became an entrepreneur, and I never looked back. Okay, now I'm 27 running a multi-million-dollar business. And that's not to brag, that's to show you, kids have energy, the youth have energy. So imagine if you took that energy and you pointed it at the right stuff, and you gave them traction to run on, and you rewarded them with things that motivate them. When I was a kid, you could get me to do anything for money. If there was money involved, I would do whatever odd job, work, task, chore that you needed me to do, because I didn't have another way to earn income, and I understood money meant that I had options, and it meant that I had control, right? And so the same thing applies here. If we provide opportunity where kids can earn money, right? They can actually use that as a means to produce and have options and control in their lives, then that's going to be a game changer. That's going to give youth in our city something to do with their time that's productive and that's actually going to yield results for them. So I want to encourage you guys, with Operation Reborn, we do these events every second Sunday at Hair Science Barbershop and Barber School, and that's basically free. It's open to anybody. So real quick, before I forget, I want you to check out the link here in the comments. You can go to the link here in the comments. It's jerryfetta.com/reborn. And on that link, you're going to see some information about Operation Reborn. You'll be able to kind of get an idea of what we're about, what we're doing, when our next events are. So make sure you check that link out. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I'll talk to you soon.